Hello there, friends and neighbors. Thanks so much for coming back to my channel. This is me, Stella Hendricks, and today we're gonna start our deep dive review into Wall Street Joyride by Mark Yagala. He is a pretty interesting guy. We are only gonna read the parts in this book that talk about Sandy Bentley and the people, surrounding in her life, because those are the most interesting parts to me, of course. Before we jump in, I do want to say that this is a story just according to, Mark Yagala and, the claims that he wants to make. While I think that he probably doesn't entirely fabricate everything, I don't think he's the most reliable narrator, and he seems to have some pretty clear motives of revenge and pettiness in writing a lot of the things that he does. And so I just really would encourage you to keep that in mind as we go through this, that this is all really just according to Mark Yagala, who may or may not allegedly be the world's most reliable narrator. So when he says unflattering things about particular people, I would really just encourage everyone to try to keep that in perspective, because he may not always tell the truth about everything in here, but it is absolutely fascinating. I couldn't put it down, so we are gonna read it. I'm not sure how many installations of this I'm gonna do. I'm pretty much just gonna watch the timer and read until I get to approximately 20-25 minutes, and we're gonna keep them in increments about that long. Sounds good? All right, let's go. Oh, where's my, I need my placeholder. All right, we're starting in chapter 12. It's lonely at the top, and I am pretty much like reading excerpts out of everything. I skip over a lot of parts where it feels like it's too gratuitous, or it's just going on too long, or it's not relevant to Sandy Bentley or something like that. Okay. Chapter 12. It starts with a quote from Charlie Sheen. "Sure, I did a lot of things in excess, but if you look at the core, the foundation of what I pursued, what red-blooded young American male in my position wouldn't?" Oh, I guess I did not start in that chapter. I'm going crazy, I guess. Okay, well. Hang on, you guys. I don't think I marked the right place in here. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I found my spot. Here we go. So he's got this girlfriend who he met through Michelle Broadman, who was one of the top Hollywood madams at the time. Holly Madison mentions her in Down the Rabbit Hole as the owner of Nikki's Girls, that really high-end escort agency. So Mark had a new girlfriend named Tishara, and he met her through that agency. So she is a paid girlfriend. She's a sugar baby, so he's dating her pretty regularly. "During the week, I was also on the phone with my girlfriend Tishara. She had already found a few houses that she liked and wanted me to look at that upcoming weekend. Tishara also wanted me to meet her friend from the Playboy Mansion, Sandy Bentley. I remembered seeing Sandy and her twin sister Mandy with Hugh Hefner. As soon as you opened the latest Playboy issue, every month, Hef had 1 or 2 pages dedicated to pictures of life at the Playboy Mansion. It was his way of chronicling life at the mansion. Playboy readers got to see not only Hef and Playmates, but also celebrities. In the late 1990s, Playboy and Hefner had really returned to the top of their game. Hef and his wife Kimberly had separated, and he was enjoying his newfound bachelor life. With the introduction of Viagra by Pfizer, he became the poster boy for a swinging sex life that old men could have again, thanks to the little blue pill. His girlfriends in 1999 were Brandy Roderick and the Bentley twins, Sandy and Mandy. Sandy, Mandy, and Brandy. Sandy and Tishara had become friends because they were both living in Las Vegas. Sandy was studying psychology at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. She was going to class during the week and then flying to LA on the weekends to see Hef. But for that upcoming weekend, she planned on staying in Vegas. Tishara and Sandy called me and said that they wanted to go to the Cher concert at the MGM on Saturday and asked if my casino host could get us tickets. I told them no problem and I'd get the tickets and we'd all go out on Saturday night. I was pretty excited to meet Sandy. Hugh Hefner was my idol. He was living every man's fantasy. He was always surrounded by blondes, and Sandy, Mandy, and Brandy were no exception. Like Hef, I was partial to blondes. I liked Tishara and thought she was pretty, but she was brunette pretty. Yeah, he's gonna say all kinds of snotty, shitty things like that throughout this whole book, so brace yourself. But she was brunette pretty. A blonde like Sandy could be my kryptonite. I guess that's why I liked and fell for Faith so hard, another girlfriend of his. They were, I think a lot of it also came from girls I lusted after growing up. Vanna White, Pam Anderson, Jenny McCarthy. They were the top pinups of the day, and I think that's what I was looking for. I wanted my own blonde trophy, one that, while others may hang her on posters in their bedrooms, I had that blonde sleeping right next to me. To me, that was my dream and the ultimate fantasy. I wanted to have what everyone else wanted but couldn't get. Around 6 p.m., Tishara and Sandy came up to my suite. Let me tell you, Sandy was drop dead gorgeous. I was utterly speechless when I saw her in her little red cocktail dress, red lipstick, blonde hair, and perfect silicone C-cups. She didn't need a bra, and her tits were the first thing you noticed when you saw her. She blew Tishara away. He's such a dick. I could see why she was one of Hef's girlfriends. I could tell that Sandy was impressed by the room. I had moved up to being a $500,000 player at Mandalay Bay, and they comped my suite and meals. Yeah, they've got some amazing suites. For dinner, I had reservations at their top restaurant, Areola? What is this? What is this word? I don't, it was not, okay, moving on. At dinner, Tishara and Sandy sat on the same side of the banquet, and I was directly across from them. We made small talk, and I focused on Sandy's relationship with Hef. So, what's it like to be Hugh Hefner's girlfriend? I asked. He wishes, Sandy replied. What do you mean? I'm not really his girlfriend. That's just to sell magazines. So, do you have a boyfriend then? I asked. No. I wish I had a boyfriend like you. Tishara, you're so lucky. Immediately light bulbs were going off in my head. How could I make a play for Sandy without creating a problem? Just take it slow is what I was thinking. After we finished dinner and dessert, Sandy and Tishara were both smokers and finished their meal with a cigarette. Yeah, this is also a very poorly written book. You can tell that he's a Wall Street guy, not a literary guy, but that's okay. Finished their meal with a cigarette. Women smoking never bothered me. Actually, when I saw a girl as hot as Sandy smoke, the oral fixation drew me crazy. Seeing a hot girl like Sandy put a cigarette in my mouth made me want to stick my dick in her mouth as well. He says stuff like that all the time. I'm ordinarily gonna skip more like stuff like that he says because it's just so unnecessary and like creepster. But there's so much of it that it can't entirely be avoided. Brace yourself. Okay, Luckily for the girls, back in 1999, there were still smoking sections at most restaurants, and smoking wasn't the issue that it is today. Sandy and Tishara said it was the one thing they really liked about Las Vegas. They could smoke pretty much anywhere back in those days. Also, smoking is such a total stripper thing. There are times when you sit in the club before, it really gets hopping, and there's nothing to do. You sit there and you're so bored that you and the girls kind of sit there and drink and chain smoke and shoot the shit the whole time until customers finally turn up. As Sandy was enjoying her cigarette, she said, "Why are you sitting so far away? Come sit next to me," as she patted the spot next to her with her hand. Not one to disobey a pretty lady, I did as I was told. Again, my curiosity kept increasing as I was wondering where all of this was heading. Even though I was technically Tishara's boyfriend, we had known each other for only a week, and we still hadn't had sex yet. Really? Wow. I could still make a play for Sandy, was my thinking. After they finished smoking, we headed to the Cher concert at the MGM Grand Arena. Walking through the hotels with these Playboy playmates with a narcissist's fantasy. I was the center of attention. I could hear people whispering, "Who is that guy?" It was certainly an ego rush, and I was loving every bit of it. Okay, that's so interesting that he says that, because it occurred to me the other day that I think that guys like this guy and like Hugh Hefner, they always say, "Oh, I love women, I love women." And to a degree, in different ways, yeah, I think, you know, they may or may not have loved women. But this guy especially, he loves women the way that Joe Exotic loves tigers. And it's fascinating to me how he thinks that he is the center of attention right now. Just like Hugh Hefner thought that with his 7 girlfriends, he was the center of attention. He was a little bit of like the center of envy, a little bit, but no one is looking at you. No, like who they're really looking at is the girls. The girls are the center of attention. It is their sexuality and their power. And this guy, his idea of ownership over that power and him thinking that it makes him powerful. You are mistaken, my friend. Of course, tigers can't really consent to be show animals, and humans can. Some humans like to be shown off. They like to capitalize on that innate strength that most women have. So I have nothing against it, of course, but I just find that attitude so fascinating. I was the center of attention. You were not. Nobody looked at you, bitch. It's that vagina envy that they just wish, oh God, if he could be that guy who everyone wanted to be him. Nobody wanted to be you. They wanted to have what you had, but nobody wanted to be you, idiot. Anyway, our tickets were in the 5th row center. They were great seats and the girls were very happy. After the concert was over, I asked the girls what they wanted to do next. I told them that I liked strip clubs, and Sandy suggested we go to the Crazy Horse strip club. Sandy said she used to work there before she met Hef and knew some of the girls there. As we rode over to the Crazy Horse in the limo, Sandy made her play for me. Sandy was saying how great of a time she was having. "Tishara, you're so lucky to have a guy like Mark. I only wish I could meet a guy like Mark." Now this is where things get really interesting. "Oh, baby," said Tishara. "Sandy is my best friend in the whole world, and I want her to be as happy as me. I don't think she'll ever meet someone as good as you. How about you date the 2 of us? We'll be one big, happy family." I gotta know how Sandy talked Tishara into that. That was astonishing. Whatever, Sandy is a hustler. I got respect for this bitch. Holy shit, did Tishara just say what I think she said? I could date not just 1 Playboy playmate, but 2. Wow, this was a dream come true. All I could say was, "If it's all right with you, Tishara, sounds good to me." After that, the girls got excited and started kissing me. They weren't excited because I was some prize or stud. They were excited because I was a sucker and they could get a lot of money out of me. Yeah, that is what makes you a prize, my dear. Nobody cares about a man being sexy, especially girls like this. They do not care. He's always getting so upset that Sandy didn't really love him for him. As if he loved Sandy for who she was and not just for her perfect silicone C tits. Get out of here. Oh my God. Their fits of joy were because they hit the lotto, not because they met the love of their life or some Brad Pitt lookalike that was the man of their dreams. Put some silicone on a hot girl, give me some alcohol, and I become the definition of a stupid, gullible sucker. Excusing one's behavior. The truth was there for you to know. These girls are almost literally hookers who you met through a Hollywood madam, and you're gonna be getting all salty and butthurt because they're excited about the money you're gonna pay them? Bitch, these are your employees. Some people. Once we got to the strip club, I was the center of attention. And everyone was talking about me. Both girls were about 5'7", add 3 inches for their high heels, and you had both girls standing at 5'10". Then there's little me, all 5'3" of me. I still looked like a geek. You are a geek, my friend. I wore better clothes and a Rolex, but I still had the glasses. I'm so sad. Fuck that guy anyway, okay. He's so stupid. Once inside the club, both girls sat on my lap and I held center court. The girls at the club could not believe what they were seeing. Girls just came up to all 3 of us and had girls giving us lap dances. One stripper asked who I was. I'm fucking loaded, was my response. Again, that was the alcohol and my ego talking. I became 6 feet tall when you add those 2 things into the equation. Being with Sandy and Tashara made matters even worse. Yeah, it was their fault, not his. To some, I was an arrogant jerk, but deep down, I was still insecure. I was just the boy that they called Urkel in high school. I may have money, but that doesn't really change who you are. Money just makes it easier to mask, especially when you make it your only personality trait and are otherwise the world's biggest creep. Oh my god, this guy. This is all my opinion. This is all alleged. This is a whole channel about me saying my opinion on things. Okay. Of the 2 girls, Sandy was the most affectionate. She was more aggressive towards me than Tashara. Sandy wanted me, and that was her game plan. Yeah, Sandy's smart. When we went back to Mandalay Bay to get the girls' cars, Sandy and I made out for about 15 minutes while Tashara and everyone else just watched. We decided to meet the next day for lunch and discuss what the arrangement would be. More importantly for the girls, they'd find out what their allowance was going to be. Yeah, bitch, that's what the arrangement is gonna be. Unfortunately, I had no idea what I had just gotten myself into and how tragically it would all end. You guys, he had no idea what he had just gotten himself into. He thought that Sandy was going to fall truly and deeply and madly in love with him for all of his wonderful personality traits and not anything to do with the fact that he was paying her and had met her through a madam, and she is clearly like a working hot girl. She knows who she is and she clearly wants to be paid for it. Why doesn't she fall in love with my personality? This guy is amazing. All right, chapter 14, Sandy Bentley. Another Charlie Sheen quote. I don't pay prostitutes for sex. I pay them to leave. The things that men tell themselves are astonishing. The next day, the girls and I met for lunch at Spago in the Forum Shops of Caesar's Palace. I've had food there before. I've had lunch there too. It was a business meeting. It really was, though. It was for wedding planning stuff. Not that kind of business. I agreed to give each girlfriend a monthly allowance of $20,000. Since Tashara already had a new Mercedes and a house, I agreed to buy the same for Sandy. After we finished lunch, we headed straight to Fletcher Jones Mercedes to get Sandy a Mercedes. They had what she was looking for in stock, a black-on-black Mercedes-Benz 500 SL. Why buy a black-on-black car in Las Vegas was beyond me, but that's what she wanted. The sales staff couldn't believe what they were seeing. I showed up in a limo. Sandy came in her little Mercedes SLK, and Tashara drove her new Mercedes. There were plenty of girls that had sugar daddies, but I was topping them all in terms not just of my spending, but also the quality of girls I was with. At the time, there wasn't a guy I know of who had 2 Playboy girls as girlfriends except Hugh Hefner, and I was stealing one of them away. I bet 500 million guys, like Bernie Kornfeld and all those, like anyone who wanted 2 Playboy Playmates had 2 Playboy Playmates. I assure you. You are not that special, honey. Sandy had spent time around rich people and had grown accustomed to the finer things. Her last boyfriend, Bill, owned an events company in Las Vegas and lived in the most exclusive country club at the time in Las Vegas, Spanish Trail Country Club. She met Bill when she worked at Crazy Horse, and he was a regular customer there. Before Bill, Sandy had lived with notorious Las Vegas mobster Fat Herbie Blitzstein. Fat Herbie was a silent partner in the Las Vegas strip club called Club Paradise. That was the first club that Sandy had worked at when she moved to Las Vegas. Sandy had made a name for herself on her first day of work when she told Fat Herbie to fuck off. I guess he tried to tell her what to do and she replied, "You're not my fucking boss or my father, so fuck off." That was enough to get Fat Herbie's attention and they started dating. She claimed that she never slept with Fat Herbie and looked at him more as a father figure. She said he would lay next to her and she would pretend that she was asleep. For Sandy, dating Fat Herbie was part of old Las Vegas glamour. He was an enforcer for Tony the Ant Spilatro, who is one of the characters in that movie Casino, if you've ever seen it, and was part of the hole-in-the-wall gang that robbed and ran Las Vegas in the 1970s and early 80s. Fat Herbie ran the Gold Rush store with the Spilatro brothers and was in the Las Vegas famous Black Book of those banned from casinos. The little Nicky character in the Martin Scorsese film Casino was based on Tony Spilatro. Fat Herbie's best friend was Ted Binion, the owner of Binion's Horseshoe. Each one had a girlfriend named Sandy for when they would go on double dates. Binion's associate with Fat Herbie led the Nevada Gaming Commission to strip him of his gaming license. That other Sandy they're talking about, her name is Sandy Murphy. We'll talk about her in a sec. Besides being best friends and having girlfriends named Sandy, both were murdered. Ted's girlfriend, Sandy Murphy, there we go, along with her lover, Rick Tabish, would later become infamous for being charged with Ted Binion's murder. Sandy and Rick were convicted on their first trial, but appealed and won their second trial. Fat Herbie was murdered as well. He was murdered by members of the Buffalo and LA mob families that wanted to take over his Las Vegas operations. At the time, Fat Herbie controlled most of the prostitution, insurance fraud, and loan sharking in Las Vegas. Standing right beside him, none other than Sandy Bentley. When Fat Herbie was killed execution style in his Las Vegas home, Sandy said she was the one to discover the dead body when she came home. Oh my gosh. How are we doing? Can we keep going? We can probably keep going. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Before Fat Herbie, Sandy's only boyfriend was her high school boyfriend. She said they were still friends, but she just looked at him like an older brother. She was always attracted to older guys because she was looking for that father figure she didn't have growing up. Her father had left Sandy's mom when the girls were younger, and Diane had to raise her 3 daughters alone. The family struggled, and the girls had a lot of resentment towards their father because of this. The town they grew up in, Joliet, was pretty depressing. As soon as Sandy graduated high school, she got out of that town as quickly as she could and hightailed it to Vegas for college. I actually admired Sandy's determination to get ahead. She had an interesting story and had the elements of a bad girl too. Being ambitious and just a year younger than me was all a major turn on. All right. So, that's all of that for right now, but I'm going to tell you a little story why that's so fascinating to me. So, Ted Binion was the son of a guy named Benny Binion, who was one of the founders of Old Las Vegas, Binion's Horseshoe, one of the first Las Vegas casinos. Very famous, very cool old Las Vegas family. He got kicked out of there and he was doing all kinds of drugs, and he was involved with the mafia and all that. And he met a girl at Cheetah's named Sandy Murphy. And she swears that she wasn't stripping at Cheetah's. She was just modeling the lingerie that she made. Oh my God. Which is an amazing lie, but okay, all right, I'll let you have it. Okay, you were modeling lingerie, not stripping. Gotcha. So they are together for a while, and he spoils her, and like, you know, a lot of these stories go, they're getting along well until they're not getting along anymore. And Binion starts wondering if Sandy's cheating on him with this Rick guy. Now Rick, he had met at a urinal in a strip club or something and decided that they were going to be best friends. He sent Rick out to build a secret vault where he could put his bars of pure silver, which after he got kicked out of the casino business, he like demanded that his sister turned over some of the bars of silver out of the casino vault, and she was like, don't take the silver, you're gonna get killed. And he was like, no, give me my silver, it's mine. And so he did, and he put it in the secret vault. And then he's breaking up with Sandy Murphy, and he mysteriously overdosed of heroin, and he was a heroin addict, but it was all highly suspect. And then who do you suppose they found at 3 o'clock in the morning out there digging up that secret vault of bars of silver? But Rick Tabish. Anyway, I think at first they got convicted for his murder, but then it got overturned. But I think they were still convicted for stealing the bars of silver. And this is all particularly fascinating to me because when my very beloved grandfather passed away in a car accident, he was also whispered in our family circles to have hidden boxes of silver coins and gold coins and silver bars and things like that. That he was, you know, my family being very old school and hardcore Mormons, and we don't trust the government and all that stuff. So it would have made a lot of sense, even though I never saw any like actual evidence of it, for him to do things like that, to like hide money, hide it in the walls, hide it here, whatever. Yeah, sounds like something they would do. But I was pretty young. I had just turned 15 when Papa got in a car wreck and he died. So I didn't really know a whole lot of this except for what was whispered around. Well, apparently one or two of my relatives from the bad side of the family, we're pretty much Hatfield McCoys over here, they went out to where Papa kept the horses, and they were said to have been digging up something out there, and that there were holes in the walls of the tack barn when we went back. Like someone had been taking things out of the walls. There'd been something in the walls there. And we have no proof of it. We have no idea. But I think that maybe Papa had entrusted some members of that family with the information as to where he had hidden things. And after he died, they went out there. That first thing, immediately they went out there and they got it. So I don't know if any of that's true. That's just, you know, some family lore from over here. But you can see why this story of bars of silver and mysteries and nefarious goings-on would be particularly interesting to me. So we will pick up where we left off last time. We are only reading, you know, parts of it, excerpts of it, only the parts that I find really interesting, not super disgusting, and about Sandy Bentley. So thank you so much for joining me, friends and neighbors. I am really excited to do this again next week. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I will catch you on the flip side.